What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of New Orleans.Basketball and all New Orleans.Network podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raphael Rattler, joined by my fellow middle brother, Garrick. What's poppin' with you, bro?
What up, bro? Man, it is here. Feels like a kid. I feel like a kid in a candy store, man. The first couple games of the season is always like the best because everybody is all gung ho for everything. But this season feels a little better for the Pelicans because it's like, hey, you're coming into the season. Zion is healthy. Pretty much the entire team is healthy. Got some good news about some other people we'll talk about. But like everybody else, man, it is like, ooh, boy, there are some bodies dropping before one regular season tip-off has happened. And if anybody in any fandom of the NBA feels like we're fresh out of sympathy, it is the people of New Orleans. And so yeah, man, welcome to a new season, a new regular season. Regular season kicks off tonight with OKC getting their rings. I'm interested to see what kind of environment is going to be because they're getting their rings, but J-Dub isn't playing. Kevin Durant is back in the building, so he got to watch his original team raise a banner that he was trying to get there. So a lot of storylines going on, man. A lot of storylines in the NBA. It's going to be a real dramatic, messy season, and I think I'm here for it all. Like I'm here for every bit of it. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk the Pels season. I'm ready to give some incredibly bad bold predictions that a year from now I'm going to be like, why did I say that? But God damn it, the season is here, so let's roll with it. How's everything on your side?
Everything is blessed. I woke up this morning, got the kids ready to school. The first thing I turned on the Alexa, I just can't wait to hear that sound, Gary. It's been so long.
That round ball rock, yes, sir.
You've been able to hear that. I'm just excited. The NBA is back. You're right. Bodies are dropping left and right before one ball is tipped up in the air, and you just are holding your breath that the Pelicans can make it to tomorrow night in Memphis. And before we get into what this season has in front, because to your point, there's just so much riding on this season, and there's a lot of things at the moment trending in the Pelicans direction. I think that there's just different vibes going into this one. Make sure you guys are followers on Twitter, on X, on IG, on TikTok. That's NO Basketball, no E. Make sure you're liking the episode below and make sure you are locked into the channel. So, Garrick, for the first time in a long time, you said Zion Williamson was available to start the season. And again, last year he was not because he got sick the day before, whatever, and couldn't play. What about Trey Murphy? He came out today after practice and was like, this is my first time since my third year in the league being able to start because he had the meniscus, had the hamstring last year, and so he hasn't started the season. Then you hear from Willie Green earlier today that Derek Queen, who was injured in this summer league game, who missed all training camp, missed the ability to play in Australia, all last 2 months, is cleared and looks ready to go for the opening night. And Garrick, like, what does that mean for you? For the team to just start the season again, I'm knocking on wood because there's still
about to say
between now and then.
About to say
in a reasonably healthy spot. That's got to lend to some type of momentum to just get off to a better start than they had.
Talk about being a jaded franchise because we're sitting here saying, man, the Pelicans are relatively healthy and probably their starting point guard is not playing. But hey,
and potentially their starting center and Kevon Looney. So.
Exactly. But hey, you'll take what you can get at this point in time. And listen, how often do we, as covering the Pelicans, Pels fans, whoever, going into the season, you're like, man, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop for the injury news, and you get some injury news that the other shoe drops where it's a positive momentum. Well, how often do you get that? And so, listen, going into this season like this, again, you're going first game is against the Grizzlies, who are missing a ton of players or a couple of players as is, and some of them are back, but are they 100%? you have to be encouraged by, like, you have to go go into this season with it on your mind to be damned if you do, damned if you do. Go on a good streak to start this season off, because this is about, as healthy as you've been coming into a season. This is about as good of talent, a grouping of talent that you have coming into the season. And so everything is laid out for you, right? Everybody looks like they're in shape. There is no, oh, is this going to be lingering? Is that going to be lingering? Seems like everybody is in good shape to start the season off going. And as you look around and you talk about some of the good vibes and the good energy going into the season, man, it's got to be good to have these new faces in there. Kind of, they don't know anything about the David Griffin tenure. They don't know anything about, Jeremiah Fears doesn't know anything about any of that. Derek Quee doesn't know anything about any of that. Jordan Poole doesn't know anything about any of that. And so, like, they are coming in, Sadiq Bey, Kevon Looney, like, none of those guys know anything about the history of New Orleans or what they've gone through, what the Pelicans have gone through, and the jadedness of the franchise. All they know is that there's a lot of talented players on the team, and they're ready to toss the ball up. So you're coming into this season, you've got to feel, good about where the Pelicans are relative to at least like the first 10 opponents that they're facing on their schedule.
Right. So today's pod is one of the more fun ones that we get to do all year long. It's one of those where we get to make predictions. We get to talk about what we potentially may see this season. Again, like we talked about last season, we'll go over last year that went awry very quickly, and none of the predictions are on board. But where I wanted to start with is, what were the keys to success for this season? We've talked about all season. We've talked about preseason, the things that they're going to have to do to be successful. And when you talk about identity, I really think the identity of any team is remade year after year because the pieces change. Now, outside of like OKC, who literally brought back 98% of their roster, everybody else's identity tend to change, right, from that standpoint. And so the things that I think are non-negotiable for this team, and I'll get started with the first one, and you let me know where you're at there, is the number one thing that has to survive for this team in order for them to get where they want to go, to be successful, and to not look like fools with egg in their face with the draft pick that they traded, is that I think the defensive activity on this team has to be at top 5 elite level, right? When you look at what happens in the NBA, year after year, you see what a good team does. A couple of years ago, Jokic is the one to beat. The Nuggets win the championship. What does every team do? Go and get bigger bodies to compete with Jokic. Then, the Celtics take over. And they're shooting threes like nobody's ever shot threes. What does every team do? They go and shoot threes and go into the lab and say, this is what we're going to work on as a team. Last season comes around. OKC, Indiana. What are they known for? Again, pace, defensive activity, and their ability to cause havoc from the beginning of the game to the end of it, and the depth that they have on that roster, right, from that standpoint. So what does every team do this summer? Go get deeper on their bench, go get deeper in their rotations and things like that. But I think the biggest takeaway from all of that when it comes to the Pelicans is their ability to be active. They're not the biggest team, right? The Pelicans are probably one of the smaller teams when you look from top to bottom when it comes to the roster, but they're probably also one of the more athletic teams. Trey Murphy was asked today after practice, what makes you feel confident going into the season that this team is a little bit different than years past? He's like, we've got a lot of people who can run, and our youth and our athleticism should really stand out. Like, you look at the Pacers and the Thunder last year, both were top 10 in steals. Both were top 10 in blocks. Both were top 12 in deflections. That's where the Pelicans need to thrive, right? And if you look at the makeup of what Willie Green's been about, like him or hate him, whatever it may be, since his tenure with the Pelicans, they've always been top 10 in steals. They've always been top 10 in deflections. They were top 10 in blocks last year, even with the depleted roster. They were top 10 in steals last year and deflections, even with the depleted roster, right? And so you add Yves Missi to this mix. You get more athletic with a Carlo Makovich, hopefully recovering from his injury. You get a more defensive-minded center in Kevon Looney than Daniel Tyson, things like that. You would expect that block rate to go up as well. And so if they're elite in that category, that also, and again, hint, it's probably going to be one of the areas that they have to work through to become elite at throughout the course of the season. What else stands out for you as a non-negotiable going into the season for the Pelicans to be successful?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the blocks and the steals. I think those stocks are going to be super important for this team because they just have too much of a well-fit personnel to not be great at the stocks mark, right? You talk about Yves Missi with his blocking attempts and Carlo with his rim protection ability, and Kevon Looney with his able to be a rim deterrent or somebody who can attack at the rim, an offensive drive or whatever the case is. But I look at like some of the guys who are returning. Herb Jones is back. He's been known to get 2 or 3 blocks, catching people at the shooting threes, perimeter blocks, standing people up, getting in the steals lane. Trey Murphy, he's going to be able to be a lot taller and be a lot stronger now that he's put on some of that weight, and hopefully be more defensive deterrent. Zion is in the best shape of his career, and we known him to get some jaw-dropping blocks, get into the steals in the passing lanes. And so it's not just going to be, again, there's going to be a lot of things about this team that's going to be a team effort, but the stocks is going to be a team effort because it's not just going to be the center and one guy on the perimeter causing havoc. You got a lot of guys who can do that. Zion, Trey can cause havoc. Herb, we talked about Jose, Micah Peavy, guys who can get into the passing lanes and turn the ball over. And so that's something that is going to be super important for this team, a non-negotiable. I think, again, as well as a non-negotiable, I think ball movement has to be something that they are committed to because there's a lot of offensive guys on this team, but outside of like Zion and Trey, I don't know how comfortable you feel about one person on the team creating their shot or creating any offense over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like even Jordan Poole, he has his moments where he does the step back threes from the timeline and things like that. And so you don't know how comfortable you feel. Hey, look, we're just going to run a lot of ISO ball, a lot of dribble ball. We saw it, right? A lot of those dribble handoffs into the CJ save us, Brandon Ingram save us. Like you can't have a lot of that. What you need to be able to do is have the what was called stirring the drink, right? You need to have that drink stirred all the time. The blender needs to be on at the smoothie king center at all time because you have too many guys who can get into the paint and kick out. Zion can do it. Trey can do it. Herb can do it. Jordan Poole can do it. Like you have a lot of guys. Jeremiah Fears can do it. Like you have guys that can do that. And you also have a lot of guys that can be play finishers, right? Trey can shoot from outside of wherever. Jordan Poole can shoot. Sadiq Bey can shoot. Like you have a lot of guys who if you get that drink stir, you get that defense in scramble mode and rotation mode, that you can hit guys for corner shots, for elbow threes, and they feel comfortable taking and making those shots. And so I think that has to be a non-negotiable because I think if Zion and Trey are good, go to them, give them the ball, get the hell out the way. But Zion is best at doing that and presenting the defense with the threat of, is he going to explode and jump and score, or is he going to pass, or is he going to do any of that? And I think that they need to capitalize on that kind of threat offensively and let it start with Zion and Trey, but everyone else needs to follow that suit of ball movement. Get the ball movement. You saw it in the first 2 games against the Australia competition. You kind of saw it a little bit in the Rockets and Magic game, but you saw a lot of it got into some of the hero ball type stuff. That has to be a non-negotiable. You have to be able to move the ball, get off of it, make a quick decision, because I think that's going to allow you to capitalize on the personnel on your roster.
Right. I think all those things are kind of intertwined, right? Like I think that they have to be a high activity defensive team that also moves the ball and gets in transition, right? When you talk about assists and things like that. The other factor of it is, you just brought it up, and I'm really going to put Zion in a class of his own because Trey is still working to prove that he can be that consistent force and create that gravity there. What that tells me is that the half court offense is going to be clunky at times, right? And what's the best way to avoid that? Look at OKC. constantly be running and constantly be in transition, right? And so if you tie the fact that you want to go defense to offense and you want to play with that type of pace, right? That's my other non-negotiable for this team. So you talk about the ball movement, you talk about the defensive activity. I'm also talking about the pace, right? And every single team, every single coach in the offseason say we want to play more pace, we want to play more pace. But not everyone is necessarily suited to play that way. And or nor does it lend to their advantages. Whereas in the Pelicans case, because they're so wiry, because they're so athletic, they're speed demons up and down the court. When you talk about the Jeremiah Fears and DeJounte Murray and Zion Williamson himself, those guys naturally lend for the offense to play in like organized chaos, right? You think of Golden State in a different way, right? They play fast at certain times, especially in the half court, but it always feels like things is a little bit all over the place, but it's organized in their own way. I think the Pelicans need to find their own version of that. And a lot of it's going to stem from the defensive end and consistently, even after makes, taking the ball out of the net, taking the ball out of bounds and going, right? I think that's going to be their best bet from that standpoint. Now flip it over to the other side. In terms of those being the strengths of the team and where they're going to have to rely on to be successful this season, what are some of the biggest challenges you see for this team as this construction right now? Again, who knows? Adversity will hit at some point. And again, we should preface this entire pod on barring realistic injuries, right? Injuries are going to come in their own way. They already did with Derek Queen and Carlo and Kevon Looney, but like not like devastating where 7 of the 10 players in the rotation are out. All of everything we say today is barred. So I just want to put that disclaimer on. But in terms of challenges that you see for this particular team, what's something that stands out toward the top?
Yeah. Big shout out to Paul, Marchin, T5. I see y'all. Appreciate y'all pulling in. Yeah, T5, I feel that same way about that draft pick. Is AJ DeBonza he's there, and I've heard some good things, but man, the way that this draft has been propped up, I need to see like the next coming of Michael Jordan walking through that door. So yeah, what up, Coach Chillin? So yeah, look, there's one glaring obvious that one glaring weakness that is obvious to everyone that we know, and it's the rebounding, right? It's gonna be, a team effort. Everybody's gonna have to hit the boards, even with like the bigs that are, if they are there. Outside of Kevon Looney, none of them are established. None of them have like put together years and years worth of like, okay, this is a guy you can count on the boards every single year. And then when you're playing, Trey Murphy is your next tallest guy, and he's again getting better on the boards, but still not a guy who goes for the board, goes for every single board, whatever the case is. You're gonna have issues playing what we saw like with Steven Adams, and even when you play teams like Orlando and things like that. And so you're gonna have to. That's gonna be a team rebounding thing. I think you're gonna have to commit to everybody hitting the boards, and then once somebody gets it, that's when that pace starts. Like you have to commit to that because you can't start, the fast break if nobody has the board, right? Like you can't start. It started that way, and it's no matter how fast you want to play, it's a lot harder to do it if every single time your team gets the ball is because they're taking the ball out the net. And so you're going to have to commit to that. And that's going to be from the guards to the wings to the bigs, everybody doing it. Now, you could get one guy leaking out or, and to get the job started, to get the party started. But everybody's going to have to get the boards. And you saw Jeremiah Fears. It looks like he's going to be a good rebounder, a guy that goes with it. Jordan Hawkins has always been a decent rebounder from the guard position. Jordan Poole has some rebounding aptitude as well. So, like, they're going to have to get there. And so, I think that is the one thing that you're looking for. Another thing that I think is that where you used to be positionally tall, at the guard position, I think after Jordan Poole, and again, you can put Zion out there, you could put her, you could do other things to kind of circumvent that point guard position. But I think that is going to be one of the things that's going to be something I'm looking forward to, because we saw if Jordan Poole gets in foul trouble, like you're down to like Jose and Jeremiah Fears as like your guards, and both of those guys are like really small. And we saw Willie Green kind of like go with a Jose and Jeremiah Fears backcourt, which I don't think that should be ever the move at all, especially what you see the NBA going way taller, way bigger. Again, both of those guys have a role to play. They both need to play. They both have things to bring to the team, especially Jeremiah Fears. But I do think that if Jordan Poole gets into foul trouble or gets into something where he's not available to play for any time, like you're down to Jose and Jeremiah Fairs. It's like these are the guys that I can put on the floor as far as the point guard position. Now you can put other guys there, have other guys handle the ball, but I think that is something to pay attention to until DeJounte Murray is ready to get back on the floor. You have a lot of guards on the team, but not a lot of like the point guards that you would want to play. And again, you don't really need a lot of those, but like you need at least one or two. And to have both of those guys come in and be sub 6'2", 6'3", and very thin and very light, and Jeremiah Fairs being 19 years old, like I think that you have to. I think that's something to watch. Now, can they circumvent that by playing incredible offense and going through Zion and going through Trey as the ball handlers and things? Of course, but I think having Jordan Poole be the starting point guard, on the floor, the lineup as the point guard, and then him being subbed out or foul trouble, I think that's when you start to look at, okay, like now you're down to Jeremiah Fairs and Jose Alvarado.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more. And again, it's very obvious the rebounding is going to be a mentality thing. And I do think it's amongst the roster, but I think it starts with Trey and Zion, right? You're the starters, you're the leaders of the team. You got to have the want to mentality, right? We talk about, hey, Zion's switching out to guards now, and he's locking up guys on the perimeter. He's guarding Kawhi and Kyrie and things like that. Well, guess what? Like Luka Doncic also is guarding guards, and like Shea is also guarding guards, and these guys are getting 7-8 rebounds. Jason Tatum, and so to me, that's not an excuse. I know that sometimes you're not going to be closest to the basket, but a lot of it's want to, right? And knowing that. And Zion's a very smart player, cerebral player in that way that, hey, my guy's not getting kicked out to, let me crash the boards. Because if I don't get it or these don't get it, we ain't getting it, right? And I think it starts with those two. You're absolutely right in terms of teams that worry me. It's the teams where they have double big and 2-footers, or their best player is their center, right? In a Sengun, right? And I know you have KD, but Sengun as a hub, as a Jokic as a hub. Like those are the teams that were Anthony Davis, right, as a hub. Like those are the teams that I got to see how the Pelicans are going to use what they do best to counter what those teams with size do best. So you already saw it versus the Rockets where their shortest player was 6'7", and then to your point, the Pelicans rolled the lineup out there with Jeremiah Fairs and Jose Alvarado, and you're like, no wonder they can't get no damn rebounds. Like that makes sense to me, right? And so how they circumvent that, right? Like let's not look too far away from the Warriors, who literally bucked this trend by themselves by playing a unique brand of basketball that the double big lineup didn't work against, so everyone had to conform to them. So I agree with you there, but that leads me into my other big challenge for them that I could foresee. It's just the half-court offense when Zion's not on the court, right? You saw it manifest itself a little bit in the preseason, and again, it's hard to take a whole lot from preseason because guys are just getting used to each other and figuring out where people get in when they fit in and things like that. But like you could see where, okay, when Zion sits down, and I agree, I see someone in the comments like Zion's the point guard, and that's how I view it too. Jordan Poole might say point guard in the starting five, but and what Willie Green has said, and even what the players are starting to say themselves, I look at Zion as the point guard in the starting lineup and Jordan Poole as the 2 guard. And so eventually, when DeJounte comes back, then he's either your backup point guard or whatnot, and that's a hell of a place to be, right? From that standpoint. And so I'm interested in that, Kim. But like until then, can Jordan Poole and Trey Murphy do enough to initiate, right? And to create for others when Zion sits down, right? We talked about, from Trey Murphy's perspective, there are times where he falls in love with the jumper and he doesn't trust his work and his ability to get to the mid-range, get to the bucket. And that's what I'm looking for in his growth, right? Knowing when to make the right decisions, when to attack versus when to shoot, things along those lines. Jordan Poole, like you said, you want some of it, but you don't want a ton of it, where he is the main initiator, because that's just not what he is. He's a 2, just like CJ McCollum. He is a 2 guard. He is a shooting guard in a point guard's body from that end. But then, what about, and this is the conundrum about this team, like, can Jeremiah Fairs and Derek Queen give you some minutes where they can be hubs in themselves? Jeremiah Fairs has to learn as a 19-year-old point guard how to distribute and how to man the court. But Derek Queen is a big body guy who I think can function as your hub at times on the court. So can that be some offense off the bench, right? Then again, we forget and we joke a little, not even joke, but we talk about Jose Alvarado. But like I look and he talks about the role that TJ McConnell has and how every time, and he's coming off an injury again, every time TJ McConnell comes off the bench, you know what you're getting. Like, you know that he's attacking as if he's the tallest person on the court. Like, there's no lacking confidence in a TJ McConnell. Look at this man in the finals, right? He was trying to bring them to, right? That's what you can Jose be that, right? Because Jose has his spurts where he can't miss, but then there's times where he gets in his head or whatnot. Like, can he take that next step? And then, like, again, the question about Jordan Hawkins, can that movement shooting be a part of your equation? Can that be a part of your formula that you can go to for 2 or 3 minutes and on the bench? So, like, that's where I tend to lean in terms of some of the challenges I foresee with this team and how potentially they could run up against that when you're going against the world beaters in the West night in and night out. You got to be humming on the first string, the second string, the third string when people inevitably get hurt, all of those things. So, like, that's my question. Is the bench going to be the bench mob, the second line? Are they going to be a positive, or are they going to be someone that they're a group that takes time to get going and figure out who they are from that end? Let's get to the stat predictions, because this is always a fun one, just because you never know, mostly because on this team, you never know who's going to be on the court. Let's start with the first one, and I think that the most easiest one. Who do you think in 2024 or 2025, 2026 leads this team in scoring?
I'm going to go with Trey Murphy. I think, yeah, I'm going to go with Trey Murphy. Okay. And I think, and it's more of, it's not an indictment on anything on Zion. It's more of a appreciation of his game and like where I want him to be and where I see him going and doing, because that's just what he does. What up, Bird Talks? And I see somebody, Jalil, already talking about it in the comments. I think Trey is going to lead the team in scoring because Zion is going to be the master puppeteer of the team. I think this is going to be one of those things where somebody goes for 25 a game and the other person goes for 23. So, like, one person does average well, but the one who goes for 23 is the best player because they have 8 assists and 6 rebounds and 2 steals and a block, like that type of situation. I think Trey is more. He has more of a this is going up type of mentality than Zion. And so I think Trey is going to lead the team in scoring, but it won't be like this. Okay, he averaged 28 and the next person averaged 20. I think it's going to be like right there. But I think Zion is going to have more of a influence on the entirety of the game than Trey. I think Trey is going. I think this is the year Trey takes the 23, 24, 25 point per game scoring.
Wow. I thought I started with the easier one. I am absolutely going with Zion because I think the only way the Pelicans avoid a disaster this season is if Zion leads the team in scoring. Look, we've talked about this. I do think that there's a lot of unselfishness to Zion's game, and we've documented this year after year after year, sometimes to a fault, where he's deferring when he should be forcing the issue, just like every other team's best player does. But here's the thing. I think by the pure fact that he's in better shape, you saw it a little bit in the preseason. The pure fact that he's in better shape, he's also on a team that's going to push the ball, and he's also on a team that has active passers, right? You talk about Jeremiah Fear, you talk about DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole in his own right, and things like that. You saw him beat players up the court. You saw Jeremiah Fears find him right underneath the goal. If Zion is rim running, who is stopping Zion if he beats you to the ball and he gets his shoulder around? No one, right? That's going to give him points on his own. The defense, the offense, who is stopping Zion after he gets a fast break? You see people not even try to go for the block because they know he's about to windmill 360, whatever, and they're not trying to be on nobody's poster, whereas everybody hustling down to get the hard foul. Anybody hustling down to foul Zion hard, right? So when he turns defense into offense, and this will be a hint for one of the future categories, that's going to be points in itself, right? And so from that piece alone, the third side of this is, listen, Last season, CJ McCollum was the team leader in points. There have been other seasons where it's been Brandon Ingram, and then one season when there was Zion. I think this team is well prepared and well fit to complement Zion for the first time ever, right? And again, a lot of this is to Zion's own detriment and not being available and not showing enough for the team to say these are the things we need to do earlier, right? I think now when you look at Trey Murphy, or you look at Jordan Poole, you look at Herb Jones, these are guys that like to operate from the 3-point line. What does that do? That gives Zion's even more space. So if these guys are already Sadiq Bey, these guys are already 3-point. This is naturally what they want to do. When you have one of the most improbable and unstoppable forces going to the rim over and over, as soon as those guys start to hit shots, then everyone's stuck. And what do we do? Right. And that's going to open up for Zion. So I think the pure fact that he's in better condition so he can play more. Garrick, it's not like we didn't watch the end of last season and say he's in 28 minutes per game and he has 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 7. Like it wasn't that far long ago. We saw him scoring in those numbers on minutes restriction. I think an even different level of Zion who's going to counters early and things like that. I think that's just a different level that he can take your team to. And so I think Zion leads the team in scoring, and he has to lead the team in scoring in order for this team to be successful.
I mean, I tweeted that that should be a goal of his to lead the team in score. Like he should go for that. I guess where I'm thinking is that I do think he's going to be getting into the lane, and I think defenses are going to say, you know what, we need to build a wall in front of that guy, right. and I think we need to guard that guy, and I think that's where Zion's one of his better attributes comes in, where he begins to be a passer. Whereas I think if Trey is rolling, I don't think they'd be like, all right, well, we need to not build a wall in front of Zion and go put this fire out. I think they'd be like, well, listen, he has to stop eventually. We can't let this guy get going. But I do think, listen, if Zion is leading the team in scoring, I think the Pelicans are in a much better position. It has shown me year after year of me begging Zion, shoot 20 times a game, shoot 22 times a game, and then you look and he has 13 shots, but he has 30 points off of them, and he has 8 assists and 6 rebounds. So I see that's what I think is more is going to happen. But hey, if Zion leads the team in scoring, that's a much better outcome for the Pelicans than if not.
Right. And the thing that could go in your favor is 3 counts more than 2, right? And if Zion just keeps making the right pass over and over and over, I could see it Trey leading the team in scoring on a lot of games from that angle. Now let's go to assist. Last year, if I gave you 10 guesses of who led the team in assists last year, you would not guess it. So we're just going to skip ahead. Jose Alvarado led the team in assists last season. The highest Zion's ever finished was second, and that was he was just under Brandon Ingram in his healthy season where he played 65. He was 11 behind Brandon Ingram. I think Zion leads the team in assists. If you can see where I'm going, by the end of this show, you're going to see where I think he leads the team in assists. Everything we just talked about, him making the right decision. He's a much better passer than people have had the ability to see, just because there hasn't been a whole lot of point Zion where you're playing through him, other than the fact that no other guards are available, so we have to do it. I think the team is going to lean into it starting the season. We don't have plays for Zion right before the season starts. I think it's going to be Zion's team, and just like you saw with Cade Cunningham, just like you've seen with Luka Doncic, just like you've seen with other players that are wings, big-bodied wings that can also be great decision makers. They lead their team in points, they lead their team in assists, and some other categories too. But I think Zion's going to lead this team in assists this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think Zion is going to be. This is going to be the like I said, the puppeteer season where he has it all going for him. Where he. You're looking at the stat sheet and you're like, oh, it's halftime, and Zion has 5 assists. So he has 6 assists at halftime because he's just hitting shooters and hitting guys and using that threat of getting to the rim. So we don't have to spend much time here. I think Zion leads the team in assists, and I think it's probably going to be by not a substantial margin, but a good enough margin where you're like, okay, he was the best passer on the team and he made the best decisions and he was the de facto point guard.
Right. I look at obviously it's a mix between like the Thunder and the Celtics, in my opinion. Like the Celtics of old with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and everybody else, right? Like your main initiator is a wing player, and everyone else kind of feeds off that in different ways. And I think that, to your point, Zion may have 7 or 8 assists, but you might have 5 guys that have 4 or 5 guys that have 5 and things like that. Here's a big category. Who do you think leads the team in rebounds this season?
I think it's gonna be Eves. I think it's gonna be Eves. I think Eves is gonna get, especially with Kevon Looney out for whatever, however much time. I think he was already like one of the. I think what he led the team in rebounding.
He led the team in games played.
Well, so yes, that too. So I think that plays into Eves as well. I think he's a guy that just like doesn't get hurt very often. Again, we've only seen like 1 year of it, but like, I think that he is one of those guys that just loves to play and will play unless he like physically cannot play. And so I think, he's going to be able to hit the boards. I think he's going to get a lot of like people are like double closing out on Zion to try to stop him. And maybe Zion puts it on the rim and he'll get the putback dunk, or it'll be like that for Trey and things like that. So I think Eves is a good bit. I think Kevon Looney, if he was playing available, for the beginning of the season, I think that he would be because I think he's obviously going to play a lot because Willie Green loves what all the things that he brings. But I think Eves is going to get a lot of playing time, and I think Eves is going to get a lot of rebounds just strictly off of look what I stumbled into because both of you guys doubled Zion or closed out on Trey, and so I think he'll be up there in rebounds.
Right. He talked about this summer rebounding and getting stronger being a bigger focus for him because obviously there was a lot of rebounds he missed that either just didn't do his work early or just didn't have the size to hold guys away. And you see him getting better in that area. There's still some steps to go from that standpoint, but he was one of the best offensive rebounders in the league last season. But you wanted just to be the consistent. You talk about the Kevon Looney. Yeah, you're not getting the peak or the ceiling of Yves Missi and Kevon Looney, but your floor is a whole lot higher, right? In situations when you definitely need it. So I feel like Yves is the right choice here. He led the team last year with 601 rebounds. The person who was second was Jeremiah Robinson Earl with 315.
Oh,
but I'm going to throw one at you, Garrick.
What a season.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Derek Queen. Listen, I think Derek Queen is the most well-rounded big that is on this roster.
I don't disagree.
I know there's a lot going into it. He's a rookie. I understand. But when I watch his game, we had a chance to watch him in person at Summer League. And again, Summer League, it's hard to take stuff. But he just looks so much smarter than everybody else on the court in terms of where he wanted to get to, how he was going to get there, whether you were bigger than him, whether you were smaller than him. And like, not every player definitely doesn't start their career like that, but not every player gets to that point where they're able to figure out when to use what. And I think he's already one of those players that figures it out quickly. Like he's a very, very high IQ. And I think he's already a rebounder. Like we talk about from Eve's perspective, Eves wasn't a great rebounder in Baylor because he was small and skinny and learning the game. And some of rebound is anticipation and knowing where the ball's going to go. When I watched Derek Queen's film at Maryland and in the summer, things he knows where the ball is going to go. And he's a very savvy in terms of positioning himself from that standpoint. And Garrick, if he can be good enough defensively, and you see from the conditioning that he's in now, if he can be good enough defensively, I can see some games where he closes because then that's another person you have to worry about being a threat offensively who can create for themselves. So I'm going with Derek Queen. It's probably best if Yves Missi leads the team in rebounding, but I don't know, bro. I don't know. I see something in this kid.
Listen, you don't have to sell me on Derek Queen. I'd liked him coming into the draft before I knew the Pelicans were interested and wanted to trade. I liked him coming into the draft because of his know-how, because of his body, his frame, and because of the IQ that he plays on. I call it offense, defense, and like the special teams, going for rebounds, going offensive rebounds, defensive rebound, putting your weight, knowing where to put your hands, regardless of like, it might be a switch problem where you step out on a guard and he feels like he can attack you, but he's like Jokic in that sense where it's more of a cerebral defensive way more than like, oh, I'm just gonna move my feet and be in front of you. Like, yeah, you might get around me, but I can hit the ball from behind you and things like that. So he does have a lot of that in him. And listen, now you're down to, Carlo and Kevon Looney are not playing. He has to play minutes, right? He has to play extended minutes. And we saw in the summer league, both games he played, he had double doubles, right? And the rebounding
all
came
3
easy.
games, yeah.
All 3 games, and he had the rebounding came easy to him. And so listen, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think he would have to play a lot more minutes than Eves, because I think Eves is like, rebounding is the thing that Eves like wants to. Rebounding and defense is what Derek Queen is going to be tasked to do: offensive things, hubs, initiate plays, play in the elbow, at the high post, at the free throw line, and things like that. And so he'll be out doing things. And so I think he's going to get his rebounds, but I think Eves is just going to be in more position to get the rebound. But like, I don't know if it's better if Eves is leading, because if he and Derek Queen are fighting for rebounding lead on the team, that means that the rebounding issue isn't that big of an issue. So I agree with you there.
That's here. So this is an interesting one. Who do you think leads the team in 3-point shooters? 3-pointers made. Let's go with that, because attempts, I think we know the answer.
Yeah, I think we know the answer. I think it's going to be Jordan Poole. I think it's going to be Jordan Poole, simply because of the leeway he's going to get, and I think the green light that he isn't given, but he just like lives with. Like, he wakes up in the morning and he sees the world in green, which is fine. Like, it's totally fine. Like, that's what you need. You need volume shooting threes. The Pelicans did not put up enough threes last year, the year before that, even with CJ McCollum bombing away, you still needed more. You needed other guys to do it. And I think Jordan Poole is going to take I think majority of his shots should be 3-point shots. It should be playing off of Trey, playing off of Zion. He should take the most threes, and therefore I think he probably make the most threes. But I think that my dark horse would be Trey Murphy. My dark horse would be Trey Murphy. I know I see people saying that they should start Saddiq Bey over Herb, and I get it. Like, Saddiq Bey is taking a lot of threes in like in this preseason. That's what he's been known to do, and like he's building like a chemistry with Zion, where it's like, hey, I know where that guy is. I know what he's doing. He's hunting 3-point line, kind of what I wanted from Jordan Hawkins. But like, I think Jordan Poole is the answer here, who's going to lead the team in threes. I'm interested. I'm very interested, because you got a fire list going on so far. So let's see what you got.
All right. I see Jalil in the comments talking about Saddiq Bey. Again, this is another player who we talked about it when he was acquired. Not very many players on the Pelicans have made 200 threes in a season outside of Trey and CJ McCollum, and CJ McCollum is no longer on the team. Saddiq Bey is one of those. Jordan Poole is another one. I'm going with Jordan Poole. Look, Saddiq Bey, I agree with you. I think that there are some things that he brings to the table. I saw a comment last week about Saddiq Bey closing some games. I think he's going to close some games, because I think there's going to be some situations, but maybe you do want Saddiq Bey on the court over Herb in closing situations when you need the floor space, if Herb doesn't have it going or whatnot. But I also agree with you in that Herb Jones is one of the best defenders in the league, and if you have that weapon on your roster, as long as he's not hurting you on the offensive end, you start that weapon on another team's best player, because not every team has that type of weapon. Now, in terms of 3-pointers made, listen, Trey Murphy has made 200 threes one time in his career. Jordan Poole's been in the league for 6 years. He's done it 3 times. I think he's going to do it again. And now he's playing with another force like he had with Steph, that all he has to do is sit on the 3-point line and wait, or relocate and wait till Zion passes it to him. I think this is a role that was meant for CJ McCollum, again, to no fault of his own, that never really got that opportunity because someone was always hurt and he was always playing a position up. But now you get to put Jordan Poole in it. And now I think he's better, younger, and I think he's more suited to be thriving in this position. And so I think it's going to be Jordan Poole. The other part of it is, I know Trey's going to be up there, but I also think that Trey shouldn't settle for being a shooter. I think Trey should mix in, hey, I'm going to shoot 7, 8, whatever, however many threes a game, but I'm also going to rim 10 times too. Like, I think there should be a lot more of that with Trey and a lot more catch and shoot with Jordan Poole, because I think that's where he's probably the best, other than when he's the 6 man off the bench like he was in Golden State and things like that. And so I'm with Jordan Poole as well. I just think he's going to take the shots. I think he's going to make a lot of the shots. And I think the floor will be spaced in a way that it creates a lot of advantages for him. Last one, which we talked about, I think is the most important category. Who leads the team in steals, blocks, and stocks? We just call it one category. Or you could go section by section if you want.
Well, I think if it's stocks, I think there's only one option there, and it's Zion. I think Zion leads the team in stocks, both steals and blocks put together. I think the blocks, it'll be Eves. And I think the steals will be Herb, but I think both together will be Zion. I think if you add the stocks together, it'll be Zion. I think he'll be like second or third on the team in blocks and like second or third on the team in steals, and combined that'll make him the best. I think him being in the best position, the best shape that he's been in, but that it's not just that, it's the commitment to the defensive end that we've seen in the preseason. Like we're not even in November yet, and I've seen Zion sit in the chair, move his feet, go for blocks, go for steals, have a 4-steal game. Like we can't exaggerate enough about how, if you think about it, how wild it was to hear Zion say, like, I'm gonna need till game 20 to get into position and get into shape where I want to be. Whereas, like, if you look now, like before game 1, he's in that shape and in that mind frame. And I think that with Zion's like this narrative and this story about like the Pelicans are just a throwaway team because Zion is a throwaway superstar, and when and if healthy, and we talking about the Olympics and Zion's name isn't even mentioned, and who's the next face of the league and Zion isn't even mentioned, and who's that should be enough for him to not only take on the offensive superstar role, but to say, listen, I got the best player. If Herb needs a break, or Herb sit down, or Herb is in foul trouble, I got Kawhi, I got Luka, I got Giannis, I got those guys. Like, I can go guard those guys. And I think I think that is the narrative that will push Zion to where he wants to go, because his offensive game is where obviously it speaks for itself. But if he's night in and night out on every, like Adam Silver likes to talk about it, the highlights, go check the highlights. If he's on the highlight every night in and night out, and he's turning people around, getting steals and getting blocks, that is going to have people saying, oh wait, like this is a next tier level, because the points, the assists, the rebounds are going to come naturally, because that's just what he does. But if he wants to get that narrative turned and get those gears turning about, man, we were like ignoring what we should have been seeing. I think that defensive side of the ball, and I think he knows that. And so I think that he's going to be committed to the defensive side of the ball like we've not seen him before. And there have been times where he hasn't been overly committed or had a lot of things to play for, where like he still was really good on the defensive side, but now he's in shape. Now he has a team around him that he believes in, that fits him more. I think that he's going to lock into that defensive side of the ball and lead the team in stocks.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like we are vastly underrating Herb Jones. Like the two years ago, I put out a tweet. DeJounte and Herb Jones had combined the last 3 years for the most steals in the league, and Herb was top 5 in stocks in the NBA. That was in the NBA with centers and all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still gonna go Zion. Look, for this reason, here's my rationale behind it. I think Herb is going to be guarding the best player more times than not. And to your point, and a little bit different from your point, I think from a night-to-night basis, the Pelicans are going to have to match up. Herb, that type of body type is better for you to guard. The Jamal Murrays of the world, those guys. The Lukas, the Kawhis, the Cades, Zion, that's you. I think those are going to have to be what you go to throughout the course of the season. The tall, slender guys, the Jabari Smith, Trey, that's you. Like, I think you're going to have to do a little bit of that, but Herb more times than not is going to guard the best player. And so he's going to be worried about following screens and giving contests and things like that. And he's still going to make a huge impact on the team and on himself from a stocks category. But I think so many of Zion's great defensive plays happen when he's the off-ball defender. And when he's going when no one else is going, he goes for the chase down blocks. And he's going when no one else is paying attention, he gets the steal in transition. And like you can see when he revs it up and he brings that physicality. Friend of the show, Antonio Daniels, like he says it on the broadcast all the time. When Zion gets his hand on the ball, like no one else is taking the ball. Like you saw him steal the ball from Kevin Knox in the first summer league game in Vegas and cause an earthquake. Like when Zion touches the ball, you are not I've seen him steal the ball from Giannis, and Giannis looked like a little kid because Zion just took it out of his hands. When he's able to do that, those are going to lead to more steals, and I think the highlight blocks will lead in his favor as well. So I think it's Zion as well. But again, if you've got Herb up there, if you got Zion up there, if you got Sadiq Bey up there, I think Trey's got a lot more to give in the stocks department. I think there's a lot of athleticism that he can use on the defensive end to increase him that way. All those guys play on the same team. And so I think the Pelicans need to be top 5, like I said, in these categories altogether. Now, those are stats. Now let's get into the fun stuff. We'll go with bold predictions. We'll start from last year just because it's funny. And the season was a mess. And we are absolutely wrong. First one was Zion was first team All NBA. That's what I had. He played 30 games. So he was ineligible. I had Jordan Hawkins finish top 3 in most improved. He was bottom 3 on the Pelicans roster. Number 3, I had Yves Missi, top 5 in Rookie of the Year campaign. This one, he was close for like half the season. And then the back half of the season, once everyone broke this and tore that and this, whatever, and he's hit the rookie wall, it was just a combination of a lot of things. And he still made second team all rookie, but he was no longer in the top 5. So 0 for 3 on my bold takes. What were yours? Do you want to talk about it? Do you need some consoling?
I do. I do need a hug and a snowball because so I know number one, I said the Pelicans were going to have 3 All-Stars. I thought Zion, Trey, and DeJounte would be making the All-Star team. Neither one of those guys finished the season on the court, let alone are All-Stars. So not great. I said that Jose Alvarado would finish in like the top 5 of 6 man of the year. He did not. Even if like he didn't even have enough time to be a 6 man because he just was starting and playing way too many minutes because everybody else was hurt.
Led the team in assists,
including Jose. So yeah, and he led the team in assists. And I think my last one was something Jordan Hawkins related, and I don't even talk about it. So those are my 3. I'm hoping we can be a little bit better this time going forward, but yeah, not great.
I see it in the comments. I know I'm not wishing bad juju. At this point, look. I've already said this on the pod. Until the Pelicans change their original jersey, I'm not gonna do it. But they need to adjust the jerseys. Yeah. That's when you flip the whole voodoo curse upside down. But I'm still gonna make a prediction because again, you win trying or you lose like a punk, and so I'm going for it. This year's prediction, number 1. Let's just start with it is. If you've been following this podcast all summer long and followed along with us and heard some of the things we talk about and just got a digestion, you can call it homer bias or whatever you want to be. I'm trying my best to be as analytical and as objective as possible, just looking at rosters and vibes and situations of other teams versus the Pelicans right now. First bold prediction, I think the Pelicans finished top 6 for the first time since the play-in has been introduced. Before last season, they were the play-in invitational because they were always in the play-in. I think if the Pelicans, and again, all of this prefaces with reasonable injury luck, I think if the Pelicans are reasonably injured all season long, they go through the same reasonable things that everybody else goes through. I think they're a top 16, not just because you get 50 games, 55, 65 games of Zion, but because I think they have more things to go to if Zion is not available. I just think that there's more things that could pop. Not saying they will, not saying they all will, not saying any of them will, but I think that there's more options than last year where as soon as someone goes down, you were calling people out to G League, Alfred Payton got a look, like you were scrambling. Whereas now you're looking at lottery picks picks at the end of the bench, right? That's where I think they are from there. What's your first top prediction? Am I crazy? I said top 6.
Nah. I think again, we saw somebody else commenting on it. The West has a lot of good teams if they are all healthy and if everybody has the right scenario situation. We've already documented about what the Thunder don't have the starting 2 guard. The Rockets don't have a starting point guard. The Grizzlies are losing everybody. De'Aaron Fox is already out. The Kings are. LeBron got sciatica. Like, it's already like Kawhi is running a mafia ring on it, and maybe like you don't know what's going on. So like the team, there's a lot of stuff going on with the teams that like. If the Pelicans right now are in a good space and healthy, if they can start the season, why not? So I'm not crazy, but I'm gonna go into something you said at the end. So my hot take, my hot bold prediction. You know how, if you again been following the show, know me personally, my favorite trait of a person is self-awareness, because it is very loud if you do not have it. But sometimes you have to have an unreasonable belief in yourself. And I think with the amount of this is the worst trade of all time, he is a bust waiting to happen. He's hurt already. The Pelicans are putting way too much stock in him. I think Derek Queen ends up in the top 3 of Rookie of the Year. I think he does. I think with Carlo and Kevon Looney being out right now and Derek Queen being available, as Willie Green said, it looks like he's good to go for the season opener. That shows me that not only did he put in the work to get back healthy, but Willie Green is not going to throw you out there if you were still in that same conditioning that you were in Summer League. And I think when you heard him talk about all those guys, they talking about this trade, all those guys behind me, I done bust their ass one, and they know it. That is the kind of like mentality that you have to have in the NBA. We've seen guys who aren't as skilled, who aren't as God's gifted talent. I don't think that, like, we've seen like Draymond and Ben Wallace make great careers out of not being the most talented, not being the most athletic, not being the most anything like that. Just strictly off of mentality, strictly off of what you want to and know how. And I think Derek Queen has a lot more like offensive talent than like a lot of big men in the league already. And so I think if he gets on this court, in these first couple games where he's going to have to play because there are no other big men on the roster, and he gets out there and he shows some things, and he's up there averaging 10 and 10 or 12 and 10, and and close to something like that. And you look at this draft class, and they got some good players, but none that's like, okay, Cooper Flagg is obviously a step above. He has his thing going for him, but like Dylan Harper, like some of those guys,
a lot of guards and
they're gonna have to get over a lot of things in order to get playing time, to get those stats and everything. So I think Derek Queen off a strict like pure I want to and I'm ready to prove everybody else wrong, which we've seen him talk and say over and over again. And Joe Dumars believes in this kid and has traded for him. I think that is my bold prediction, my scorching hot take, as you see, Jalil, that I think that he finishes in the top 3 of Rookie of the Year.
I'm not mad at it. I told you from the beginning. I think the Pelicans have 2 rookies that truly believe that they're the best player in this class on the same team, and Mike Peavy. And I think it's much more likely for Derek Queen to get there by the sheer fact that there's so many guards on the Pelicans, and DeJounte will come back at some point. So there's just going to be limited bodies there. And I see it in the comments. The Pelicans don't have a big. They need another big. There is a deficit. The same reason why I picked Yves Messi last year to be top 5 is the reason why I'm picking Derek Queen. They still have a gap there, and I think that he can fill it from that standpoint. My second one, I think Trey Murphy finishes in the top 5 most improved. I think, again, if this season goes the way it goes, again, the last time you saw a fully healthy Zion, they won the second most games in franchise history. The time before that, you saw him play the majority of the season. Brandon Ingram won most improved. right? From that standpoint. And I think Trey Murphy's skill set complements Zion Williamson better than Brandon Ingram's skill set. And so if those two things are the case, I think Trey Murphy's going to look good because Zion's also going to look good in concert together. And so I got Trey. I just think there's a lot. I think the narrative goes in his. If you think about the analysts and the people that talk about the Pelicans, the first thing they say, don't try Zion. Like Herb Jones, great player. Love Trey Murphy. He could be blah, 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 blah. I think the narrative is there for Trey. So if he has another good year, 20 points last season, if he does 22, 23, something like that in this season, and the Pelicans are a winning team, I think the narrative goes in his favor. What you got for another hot take?
I like that. I think, again, like you say, the narrative is there. The skill set is there. And the will to. He talks about it on his podcast about wanting to get better every single year. Like that's his job as a basketball player. So we'll be able to see it up close. You see him already put the weight on, taking it to the rim. So I like that. Okay. I have one for you. I think by the end of the season, Micah Peavy will be like a seventh man on the rotation. I think he surpasses Jordan Hawkins. I think he surpasses I think he surpasses a lot of the other guys. Like Sadiq Bey will probably get a lot of it, but I think Micah Peavy is the Willie Green kind of guy, and I think by the season's end that he's going to be like one of Willie Green's guys that he calls upon to play. And he becomes like a staple. I think the defensive intensity will get him there. I think that'll get him on the floor. But there was a lot to that he put on film at Georgetown where you could plug that player into like the second unit for the Pelicans and be like, it fits like a hand in glove fit, right? And I think that they're gonna need that other person to come in and play that defensive side of the ball. And also hit those corner threes to help out Jeremiah Fears, to help out some of the guard, whoever he's playing with at the time. And I think that he climbs the ranks of the rotation. I think by the end of the season, by the time the playoffs are coming around, that I think that he'll be in the rotation and be like a staple of the rotation, and he'll be one of those draft pick stories like we saw with Herb Jones, like you see with Yves Missi, where it's like, where did they find that guy? Man, that's a good yeah. Like one of those guys, like where did they find that guy? Man, how did everybody pass up on that guy?
I like that. I struggle to get there because at some point when DeJounte Murray comes back, that means DeJounte or Jordan Poole is coming off the bench. That means that there's already two players. Sadiq Bey is going to be in front of him. I think Derek Queen's going to be in front of him. And so I know that there's going to be injuries throughout the year, so he's going to play, right? At certain point. I just don't know if he will be a mainstay if all the main rotations play. But I like the pick because I do think that he's an older guy that can impact the game in the way that the NBA is trending toward in 2025. Here's my last one. Last year I had Zion first team All-NBA. I'm not even going to do that. But here's what I am going to do. I think Zion's going to be top 5 in triple doubles.
Ooh.
He has 2 his entire career. Both of them came in the second part of last season on minutes restriction. Last season, Jokic had 34, which is insane. Effing insane. Giannis had 11. LeBron and Sabonis had 10. Cade Cunningham and Josh Hart had 9. I think for Zion, 9 or 10 is pretty reasonable because I don't think he's going to be on a minutes restriction. I think his conditioning and his activity is going to draw him to the ball. So he's going to have the ball. It's going to be the rebounding piece. I think the assist piece, he'll get above 10 assists on good nights. That's why I picked him to have the most assists on the teams. But I think when he turns it on from the rebounder and he just goes and gets it out the air and jumps higher than all the 7-footers that are still on the ground when he already jumped this for the second time, I think that's going to lead to triple doubles for him. And so I think that Zion's going to finish top 5 this season in triple double. That's my last bold prediction for the year.
That's boy, that's going to be, if he does that, then I mean, the Pelicans should be in really good shape if he's out there getting triple doubles like that, because if that means that he's getting those triple doubles, that means the nights that he's not getting triple doubles, he's probably like knocking on the door or doing a little bit of everything. Like I talked about that puppeteer season. I like that. I like that. So on the heels of that, to hell with it. Let's go out on a bang. I think the Pelicans win a playoff series for the first time
Woo!
since in a while. I think they win a playoff series. I think this is the year that they get all of their guys. And listen, this is hot take time. Like this is the season started. It's 0-0.
The excitement's here.
The Pelicans are at the top of the Western Conference right now because they're 0-0. So hey, who am I to say? But I think, and again, all of this is about reasonable health, right? I think if the Pelicans can get to the end of the season with Zion and Trey healthy, I book in those two guys because those are the two guys that matter. Like those are the two guys that are going to drive this where you need to go, right? All the other players are good. They fill roles great. Zion in a category by himself, but Trey as well as the passenger of this whole thing. Reasonable health, both of those guys get there. It's going to be very. We've been asking for this question for the last couple of years with the Pelicans. I just want to see a team have to play Zion and beat him 4 times. I just want to see it. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's probably very possible. I just want to see how they do it. I want to see what is the defensive game plan for Zion 4 straight times. We've seen it be very difficult to stop Jokic. We've seen it be very difficult to stop Giannis. When you talk about guys who are just physically overpowerful than like your defense.
And they let you play in the playoffs. Yeah.
Right. And letting you play and be physical. Like, I just want to see it. And again, he's nothing like anyone has ever seen. This is a bowling ball playing point guard, basically. And so I want to see the defensive game plan towards that. So if they get to the postseason with Zion and Trey healthy, I'd love to see what the matchup is, as long if it's not, matchup dependent, obviously. But I think if it's a reasonable matchup, if it's not, even like someone like OKC and stuff, like I'm just gonna have to see it. Mm-hmm. But I want to see them beat Zion 4 times in a playoff series. And I think if they get there, my hot take to end this hot take session off, because why not? I think they get them 1 finally in the first round.
Okay, I like that. Again, we shall see as the season goes on. So the season starts tomorrow, Garrick. We are here. We have arrived versus Memphis in Memphis, which has been a tough place to play, even when they were going through all the things that they were going through, plus all the injury. Now Desmond Bane's gone, things like that. I still think it's going to be a raucous crowd. I know the tickets were cheap and things like that, but Memphis typically plays well in Memphis. So what are some of the things that you're looking for in tomorrow's game? What are some of the things that stand out so the Pelicans can get off to a hard start?
First and foremost, Zion's aggressiveness. I think when you're looking at this team with no Zach Edey, no Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr. should be playing, but like we don't know how injured he's gonna be. It should be feasting in the paint for Zion. I think he needs to set the tone for the season early, and by starting the tone with this game early. I think coming out game 1, straight to the rim, putting pressure on the defensive side, making those bigs rotate and play and have to play, getting people in foul trouble. Like if you get those bigs in foul trouble and Jaren Jackson is prone to fouling, and now you don't have Zach Edey, now you don't have Brandon Clark, that just makes it even easier for him to attack, for Derek Queen to come in and do his thing. And so I think his aggressiveness off the dump, I think, I liken it as before he gets to that first timeout or that first whatever the case. I think that the Pelicans need to beat the Grizzlies to the first timeout, meaning make them call the timeout first. But I think before that first timeout, Zion needs about 5-6 shots. Like in the first quarter, I'm establishing that you're going to have to deal with me this season. Again, I talked about Trey Murphy leading the team in scoring, but I think that Zion needs to set the tone early. And get it going early, and let the Grizzlies know, as well as the NBA know, like is it going to be the same type of situation? Zion is here to play, and Zion is here to make an impact. And I think that goes with starting the game off early. Don't wait till after the first timeout. Don't wait till the second quarter. Don't wait till the Pelicans are down 10, and now you come in and go on an 8-0 run by yourself. Start it off early. Get the Grizzlies in foul trouble, and I think that's gonna let the Pelicans kind of take off and go where they need to go. for the
right?
game.
The things I look at is one, what happens when you don't make shots, right? Like you saw in the
Mm-hmm.
Orlando preseason game. I keep going back to this because it's the only exposure you've seen to this year's roster is that the Pelicans weren't making shots and they dug themselves a big hole because they weren't also defending on the other end. Like the energy wasn't translating because they weren't making shots right from that end. How do you flip that around and make it so that, again, like we've been talking about this whole podcast and all summer long, even when you aren't hitting shots, your non-negotiable is that you're going to be hell to score on each and every possession. That's what I'm looking for. Even when shots don't go in, are you still playing with the same defensive aggressiveness and energy? That's from Zion, Trey, to the bottom of the roster. Do you still play with that same energy level when the shots aren't going in from that standpoint? The second thing I'm looking for is like we talked about earlier, I'm very curious to see, will the bench unit be a strength or will it be a weakness out of the gates? No Scottie Pippen Jr., he's going to be out for a long time. Ty Jerome might be injured from that. We talked about John Morant coming off the ankle, but now there's no Desmond Bane. So can your second unit outplay Memphis in Memphis, right? Because benches usually play well at home, especially the first game of the season. We've got jitters and all those things. Can your second unit be someone that you rely on and is the true second line that keeps the party going from that standpoint?
Just to go on, because that was my second one, is I want to see how long the leash is for the rookies, for that second unit, like you talk about, because again, you know, we saw all of these machinations of that Willie Green put out in the preseason with like Micah Peavy was the first person off the bench, and then Jeremiah Fears played before Jose, and Garrick Queen hasn't played, but like he has to play. Like, I want to see what's the leash for the rookies, because we've seen over years that it not be very long, but that was because like you had other guys that you can say, all right, well, look, we just gonna kind of put this guy, you just got to learn behind him. This is the guy that we're gonna play, right or wrong, right? Garrett Temple should not have been out there over trade, but like that's the way it was. So like now that like your bench is made up of these young guys, and like these are the guys that are going to be coming in and giving you some minutes, how long is the leash? Will you let them fail? Are you going to let them kind of play in concert with each other? Do they need to just, are you going to make them play like that reserve route and kind of bottle them in a little bit? Are you going to let Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen kind of put their personality to the floor? And so to kind of go with your second point about that second unit being effective or not, I want to see what's the leash for the rookies on that second unit, and when's Willie Green gonna yank it and say, hey, look, come sit down, go in there, Jose, go in there, whoever the case is.
Perfect. You led me into my last point, and we'll get to yours. The reason this team feels a little bit different, it feels like they have more firepower, is because you brought in a bunch of guys, including Jordan Poole, even though he's more perimeter oriented, who can get to the rim. For so many years, and the free throw line, with so many years, we've been talking, this team doesn't have enough punch off the bench. You got a whole bunch of defensive guys, a whole bunch of utility guys, but not other guys that can create for themselves and for the mirror. And if you listen to the team talk all summer, all training camp, all preseason, they all say we have a lot of people who can score and can create, and that's different than in years past. And so that being part of their identity, starting with game run, not just settling. If Memphis hits you with a run, not settling for threes. You brought in Jeremiah Fears. What's the thing he does best? Attack the rim. You brought in Derek Queen. What's the thing he does best? Attack the rim. You traded for Jordan Poole. What is he better at than CJ McCullough? Shooting as well. But what else is he better at? Getting to the free throw line and attacking the rim. Letting that be your mentality so that even when you get down, or even if you know that you're subtle on a run, you know what your team is. You know what your identity. You're not guessing of where do we go from here. You got, no matter who's in it, whoever the engine in, whoever the point get is, you're forcing the issue, especially if Zion's not on the court. You are forcing the issue at the rim and creating that paint to great for everybody else, because that's the only way this team wins. I don't think this is a team that is a super successful team that you just get into the half court and you figure it out like you got Nikola Jokic on the team. I don't think that's what's going to be best for this team. I think they're going to have to use their athleticism to get to the free throw line, get to the bucket, and let those three-pointers fly once you do that. Because without it, I don't think they're a good enough pull-up drill three-point team to be successful all season long. So it starts for me in this Memphis game. What's your last point?
I agree. And I think my third and final point is going to be, the Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins, and so like they have this new coach. I can't remember pronounce his name, but he's a fairly new coach. He was on his staff, comes from a European background, has a that European basketball style system. But man, Willie Green can't be outcoached in this game. Like he can't be. Like the Grizzlies are down a lot of players. The players that they are available are coming off injuries. The coach is fairly new to the NBA game. Only got the coach like the last 8 games of the season and in the playoffs where they got swept. If this is like all of the buffers are like gone, Griffin is gone, Brandon Ingram is gone, CJ McCollum is gone. Like all of the buffers are gone. And so if you come out of this game saying, man, Willie, the substitution patterns, the play calling, the timeouts not being called or being called, like if you come out of this game saying, man, this was a Willie Green game, lost, I think that would be a red flag. Like this can't be. You can't lose this game because of coaching. Like if it's the shots aren't falling and the Grizzlies go 29 for 35 from the 3-point line and something like that happens, then you go back and you fix what you need to fix, whatever. But if it's something you come out of this saying, how could we not call a timeout during this run? Or why was the substitution pattern like this? Or why did Zion sit for like 10 minutes when the Pelicans could have, used him to kind of get back in it? It can't be because of that. And so I think coming out, in this game in particular, this is a great game for Willie Green to kind of get his momentum going against a team that is injured, against a coach that is fairly new and hasn't really gotten his bearings. You've been here for a while now, and so now all of that cute young coach stuff is out of the question. This team has a chance to be more successful than it has ever been with the talent around, with Zion's mindset, with Trey's development, and her being back. Like you have a lot of talent, so like this can't be the starting off game one saying you lost to an undermanned Grizzlies team because of coaching. I think that can't be the narrative coming out of this game.
Sure, for sure. So with that being said, the next time we talk to you, the Pelicans will have played a regular season game. Garrick, the season is here. The NBA starts tonight. I had to do it one more time. What you got left for the people as we start this thing one more time and go?
Yeah, man, this is yet another year. Hopefully, it's a lot better than the last couple of years. Last year was rough, man. It was not fun trying to come up with topics to talk about that center around Jeremiah Robinson, Earl Lester Quinones. But here we are again. As always, you never know what people are going through, so give someone a smile today. Appreciate everybody pulling up for this early show before the season started. Wanted to get in because I know everybody gonna be watching basketball tonight. Bird Talk. We try to slide one in on y'all, but appreciate y'all pulling up on us, man. As always, follow myself at Garrick_Rattler. Follow my brother at Raphael_Rattler. Follow the page at NO_Basketball, no E. That's on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you get your socials. Most importantly, subscribe to NewOrleans.Basketball, and we'll see y'all when the regular season kicks off.
Hey,